Good afternoon. This is Doug Ritchie, State Representative for the 38th District in Eastern Clay County. Just wanted to wish you and your family a merry new year, a happy new year. Hope that as you enter into 2020, that you do so with the joy of having completed yet another year, coming out of a season of celebration with family and friends over Christmas and Thanksgiving, and looking forward to the opportunities that 2020, I'm sure, has in store for you. As we embark on our journey into 2020 together, there are just a couple of thoughts that I want to leave you with before I sign off for the day to join my family to celebrate New Year's Eve. You know, Teddy Roosevelt once said back, I believe in about 1910 or so, that we must realize that greatness is the fruit of toil and sacrifice and high courage. You know, living a life that could be marked with greatness, being able to accomplish things that are truly commendable for the benefit of your family and your neighbors and people that you care about, and even, quite frankly, people that you do not know. When you pursue a life of greatness, that kind of life does not come easy. That life does not result from a kind of passivity, meeting the challenges of life in a relatively passive way. Now, greatness and living a life that is truly commendable is, as Teddy Roosevelt identified, the fruit of toil. It's the fruit of sacrifice. It really is the fruit of a kind of courage and strength of conviction that is truly important, and quite frankly, gratefully so, was a part of the American fabric for many generations. It is a matter that needs to be noted, though, that many within our culture today are taking note of the fact that these matters are beginning to wane. When you think of resilience, which is really kind of what Teddy Roosevelt was identifying with this matter of toil and sacrifice and high courage. It's a matter of resilience and dedication. It's determination. It's that strength of conviction. You know, resilience is that bounce back factor, if you will. When you face difficulties and you get kicked in the gut, how quickly you can bounce back and begin to overcome those challenges. Resilience, in many ways, is evaporating in our culture. We see that as we deal with the heartbreaking realities of teen suicide and even suicide among the adult population, and the mental health crisis that is often discussed and described for us nearly every evening when we turn on the news. Resilience really is a critical matter that needs to be in place in each of our lives, and it seems as though, for any number of reasons, that resilience is evaporating. It's something that it's beginning to elude our grasp, and we've got people who are struggling to try to figure out why that's the case, and many people have arrived at various perspectives or opinions to address those reasons. But the reality is, resilience in your life, resilience in my life, is essential. Life is hard, life is difficult, life is not fair, and the degree to which we are resilient in life, to that same degree, oftentimes we're able to look after the needs of our life and those that we care about, and even those within our community, in a much more productive way. If we are struggling with resilience, if we are not resilient to the point that maybe we should be, then we are more in a position or in a condition of dependency upon other sources or systems beyond ourselves for those things that we're in need of. So this is what I want to challenge you with as I'm thinking about this in my own personal life heading into 2020, thinking about my relationships, my family, my friendships, my work, and things of that nature. What really is tied to having a healthy resiliency in life? Well, when you talk to people who have devoted much attention and time and energy throughout their lives studying these matters, those details or factors, those variables that often will begin to emerge, list after list after list, include details like faith, family, friendship, health, financial stability, competency, productivity. each of those things and others that can be added to that list, but these tend to show up more frequently, list to list, are important. Wrestling with those big overarching issues of life, answering the big questions of life of who really are we, and where are we going, and what is the purpose of all of this, and how can we relate not only to one another but to the world more broadly, and how do we handle illness and the death of loved ones, or even our own pending death, struggles, challenges, questions of justice, or what have you. These big overarching questions that are common to the human family are those very questions that have been wrestled with and in many ways answered within the context of faith. And I, as you well know, am one who certainly unapologetically embraces the historic Christian faith. I believe in what the Bible teaches. I believe that God, our Creator, has set things in place, that He has created each of us in a way that is reflective in many ways of who He is. Even we were created in His image, and obviously that image has been broken, and with that comes the challenges that we suffer most often. But when you're looking at matters of faith and those belief systems that are truly important, our understanding of those things helps to set us on a trajectory, on a path of resiliency as we face difficulties in life, because we see either purpose or lack thereof. And then to the degree that we understand that there is a purpose beyond the suffering, a purpose beyond the difficulty, it gives us the ability to look beyond the difficulty, to see something greater. And as a child of God, as a Christian, I see that, and that is, I would say, is the most critical component to my personal resiliency beyond anything else, is my faith in God, my Creator, as He's revealed Himself to us in creation, in the Word of God, the Bible, and the person of Jesus Christ. We also recognize, beyond faith, that family plays a significant role. Now, today, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, most everyone understands that the family is breaking down. The family is breaking apart. And it comes as no surprise, as the family breaks apart, we begin to have more problems within society. The family is the most essential unit of society. It is the most essential unit of a culture. And when family grows unhealthy, and that is an expansive characteristic within culture becomes unhealthy. So I would just challenge you to think about yourself in relation to your family and the resilience that you see within your family. And if you recognize that there's a challenge, maybe resilience is beginning to evaporate even in your own circles, you begin to ask yourself, how can I, as a member of this family, become a more productive part of this family to help the family become more resilient? I'm a husband, I'm a father, and my resiliency plays a significant role in the relationships that my immediate family is able to enjoy. If I am not resilient, if I am not healthy in all these various ways, if I'm not leaning into this and toiling and sacrificing and working hard to be as strong as I possibly can be in all these different areas of my life, then my daughters will suffer for that. They just will. My wife will suffer for that. And I will suffer for it as well if my wife doesn't pursue that, and if my daughters don't pursue that, or even if my own parents don't pursue that. So we are very much interconnected as family members, and we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that family plays a significant role as one of the most important building blocks of human civilization. We've got to recover that. We need faith. We need family. We need good quality friendships that we invest in, and that those members who are participating in those friendships are investing in as well. We need those networks of individuals, even beyond our own family members, that we can lean on when life is difficult, that we can seek wisdom and counsel from when we've got questions, when we've got an opportunity or an idea that's exciting to be able to celebrate and share that with as well. The same thing with our health. I mean, our health is extremely important with respect to our resilience. We play a significant role. We have a responsibility to be as healthy as we possibly can, to take care of our bodies, to be active, to watch what we're eating and to do really what we can to be as healthy as we possibly can. We live in a very affluent society. We can really take a lot of things for granted. Food is prevalent. Quite frankly, we know that there are those who suffer from food insecurities, but even those who suffer from food insecurities in our culture, within our communities, are still more easily they find it easier to gain access to food than virtually many other places in the world. And so it is one of those things. We can't sit back passively and expect our health to be taken care of by someone else. We have to take responsibility for our personal health as much as we take personal responsibility for our family and our friendships. Our financial stability is also one of those key characteristics that feeds into resilience. If we are financially secure, not meaning that we have a large bank account, not meaning that we've got a massive house and a massive retirement account, but as we are living within our means, week by week, month by month, we are in a much more stable position than if we're living well beyond our means or not doing those things that play into a better position financially. Developing a good work ethic, being the best possible employee for our employers that we possibly can, not just trying to target the minimum and doing just barely what's required of us, but really going well beyond what's required of us to show that we are an asset to the place that we're working for. We want to be the best employees possible. We want to work as hard as we can for as long as we can to meet the needs of our family and our loved ones, and even, quite frankly, to earn beyond what is absolutely needed so we can live within our means and make some of our resources available to meet the needs of those who right now are struggling because of circumstances that are beyond their control. This is the benefit, this is the blessing of resilience as we step in year by year to those challenges that life brings to us. Competency is also a key element. Just trying to be the best possible person we can be in those areas of our work, our labor, being a student of that particular area of work, and making sure we know our trade and trade well, that we work hard, that we try to hone our skills and abilities, whatever those skills and abilities are, whatever your profession is, being as competent as we possibly can, because the more competent you are, the more of an asset you are to the organization that you work for. We want to be competent, because if we're not competent, if we're incompetent, that erodes our resiliency as an individual. And then beyond that, just being productive, working hard, realizing that there is value, there is dignity in labor. Working is not something that we ought to try to avoid. We ought to recognize that we are free to work. We are free to apply our hands to the trade that we enjoy, that we're free to invest our energy, our sweat equity, our labor, our ingenuity, our intelligence to something that then brings back a financial benefit for our loved ones. That is a good thing. And that is so very much tied to our resiliency as well. These factors and many more really are a part of what makes us a resilient people. And if resilience is beginning to evaporate in our culture, we're seeing that happen in each of these areas. Faith is certainly one of those areas we could talk about in many different discussions where we're seeing that really begin to create problems for people, and family is breaking apart, and friendships are minimal, and we don't even know how to define friendship hardly anymore. Our health, we're confused about who really is responsible for our health and our finances. And we're living well beyond our means as a culture. We're expecting more and more from our government. We're expecting more and more from other people. And we're expecting very little from ourselves when it comes to our financial health and stability. So I would just encourage you to do what you can to be as strong as you possibly can be in each of these areas. Take your faith seriously. Think long and hard about those big overarching questions of life and wrestle with those things. Don't run from them. Wrestle with those things. Do what you can to be the most loving, compassionate, dedicated and determined member of your family, someone who loves that family and sacrifices for that family and will remain loyal to that family no matter what. Somebody who is a friend that people enjoy being around. Let's do that. Because I can assure you that if we each enter into 2020 with that kind of perspective, 2020 will be difficult. We're going to meet those challenges. I mean, even as Teddy Roosevelt said, I mean, if we're pursuing a great life, not only for ourselves, but for our family, our loved ones, our friends, our community, if we're really pursuing that great life, 2020, like any other year prior, is going to be filled with toil. It's going to be filled with struggle. It's going to be filled with opportunity and joy, but it's also going to be filled with heartache and challenges. And we've got to be prepared for that. We've got to take that kind of responsibility for our life and say, this is who I am, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lean into this, and I'm going to lead everything on the field. I'm going to shed tears. I'm going to shed blood. I'm going to do all this, but I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. I want to be a blessing to other people, and in order for me to be the full blessing that I intend to be, I've got to be somebody that works hard. I've got to be somebody who strives to make those types of sacrifices, because I know it's worth it. This is important. Let me tell you this. Why am I mentioning this on the eve of 2020? There are entities within our culture that do not benefit from you being resilient. There are entities in our culture that do not benefit if you have a strength of conviction, if you have a strong work ethic, if you're trying to be the healthiest person you can be in all these various aspects. Let me tell you, I've spent now a year inside the belly of the beast, if you will, as a state representative, working as a state legislator and looking at the state budget and interacting with state bureaucracy and all the work that comes along with that responsibility, trying to live up to the responsibility that you've asked me to take on for you, and I do that with joy. But one of the things I know, and now I know, having interacted with it even more closely than I did before last year, government bureaucracy does not benefit from your resilience. Bureaucracy, by its very nature, grows. It expands. It's always looking for new problems to try to resolve. It's requiring more money, more staffing, more programming, things of that nature. And quite frankly, they have a really hard time in defining what success is when they're asking for more money, when they're asking to launch a new program. They really have a hard time in defining what success would be in their particular realm of responsibility. I'm telling you, when the state is made up of people who are waning in the area of resilience, state bureaucracy thrives because you become a part of the legitimacy for their existence. When you need more, and they have then the justification for needing more to give you more, you end up playing into their hands because they need you to need them. A strong culture, a strong populace, is a populace that needs less government, needs less government spending, that needs less government programming. So when you're thinking about the frustrations you have about everything becoming overly politicized and everything becomes a challenge and no one can seem to get along or what have you, it's because government has grown to such an extent where nearly every aspect of life now has some kind of government solution tied to it. And that continues to grow as our society continues to struggle. As families break down, there's a greater need that expands year by year, and to the point that we've got to spend more and more money. We're spending billions upon billions of dollars to try to compensate for the fact that people are needing something beyond themselves. So you're not going to get this message from any government bureaucracy. What you need and what I need as individuals and as families and family members, as community members, we need to understand that in order to be able to create a situation where things become less politicized, it's going to require us to be more resilient. It's going to require us to take more responsibility. It's going to require us to become healthier in every one of these categories that I just outlined. Because the less we need government, the more then we're able to take back and to remove from the politicized discussions, so that we can then actually, quite frankly, enjoy a little bit more peace and civility within our relationships. This is important. If we want our families to thrive, the government cannot help your family thrive. If we want our communities to thrive, the government ultimately cannot help and cause our communities to thrive. If we see needs within our community, the first question we should be asking is not what will the state of Missouri or what will Washington, D.C. do? Because if that's the first question we start with, we are contributing to the problem. The first question we need to be asking ourselves is, what am I doing to be the healthiest, strongest member of this family or this community that I possibly can do? What am I doing currently? What more can I be doing? What is my family doing? What are my friends and colleagues in the various networks that I operate within doing? What are we doing? What can we do to respond to this issue? What can we do to come around and rally around this issue to provide some support and encouragement? This is important. The more local we operate, the less we need state and federal bureaucracy to become the end-all be-all to every problem that we face. But in order to cut that off, we've got to grow in resiliency. So I don't want to come across by any means, as one who's trying to preach to anyone. I'm talking to myself as much as anyone else. I'm just throwing this out because I think it's important to have these conversations. I think it's important for us to stop and consider what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and how effective it is. How effective is it? And I'm telling you, across the board, nearly every issue that we're facing today as a culture is ultimately at its root tied to, in one way or another, either the presence or the lack of resiliency in the lives of our individual citizens. So let me just encourage you, as we celebrate tonight, New Year's Eve, and we look toward beginning a new year together tomorrow, launching into 2020. We have opportunities. We have ideas and hopes and aspirations. We've got families that we love. We have friends that we enjoy spending time with, and we've got needs and we've got hurts, and there are areas in every one of our lives where we're broken and we know we're weaker than we need to be. But I'm telling you, let's enter this next year with that drive and that determination to live that quote unquote strenuous life that Teddy Roosevelt so often described and quite frankly set an example of in the early 20th century. Let's understand that as he identified so clearly, that the great life that we all desire, the great life that quite frankly we want to be able to leave behind us as a legacy for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, is not the fruit of passivity. It's not the fruit of weakness. It's not the fruit of holding back and looking for an easy path. A great life, a life of meaning and purpose, a life that brings blessing to other people, really is the fruit of toil and sacrifice, hard work and determination, of that high courage that Teddy Roosevelt spoke of. Let's embrace that as we go into 2020. Let's exemplify that as we go into 2020. Let's be as resilient as we possibly can be. And when you see someone suffering who may not be at a point of resiliency in their life, you, in your resiliency, you reach out to that person, you give them a shoulder to cry on, you give them a hand up, you help them out, and you do what you can to transfer some of your resiliency to them. And I guarantee you, you will not regret that work. You will not regret that kind of sacrifice. You'll look back on that and think, man, I'm grateful I had the opportunity, and they will thank you for that. That's the kind of life we ought to be pursuing. Thank you so very much for your time. Have a great and safe New Year's Eve, and let's enter 2020 as resilient as possible. Thank you.